Now, President Donald Trump announced that Iran and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire. The phased ceasefire will bring an absolute official end to the 12-day war. The U.S. president later told U.S. media that he thinks the ceasefire is unlimited and is going to stick forever. A senior White House official said that Israel agreed to the ceasefire deal on the condition that Iran stop its attacks in their country. During the negotiations, U.S. President communicated directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, while Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff negotiated the terms through direct and indirect channels with the Iranians. Reports citing a diplomatic source said that Trump asked the Emir of Qatar to broker the ceasefire agreement with Iran. The Qatari Prime Minister secured Iran's agreement on Monday, which Trump then announced to the world on social media. Trump said the ceasefire would be a phased 24-hour process, beginning in 6 hours with Iran unilaterally halting all operations. Israel would then follow suit 12 hours later. He added that upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. The ceasefire announcement came hours after Iran launched missiles at the largest U.S. military facility in West Asia, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, in a move Trump shrugged off as very weak. Calling for a de-escalation, Trump thanked Tehran for giving advance notice of the barrage. Trump expressed that with the strikes, Iran had gotten it all out of their system and that there will hopefully be no further hate. Iran's National Security Council confirmed having targeted the base in response to the U.S. aggressive and insolent action against Iran's nuclear sites and facilities. But it added that the number of missiles launched was the same as the number of bombs that the U.S. had used, a signal that it had calibrated its response to be directly proportional rather than escalatory. Iran has yet to officially agree to the ceasefire but said it won't retaliate further if Israel stops its military action. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said if Israel stops its aggression no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards. He said that any final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later. A series of powerful explosions, though, rocked Tehran early Tuesday morning. The blast occurred just hours before a staggered ceasefire was due to take effect. Trump also said that the ceasefire would begin once Israel and Iran have completed their winding down and their progress in the final missions. For more on this, we're now being joined by Senior Advisor at Center for Strategic and International Studies and former Undersecretary of Defense in George W. Bush administration, Dov Zakheim, live from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One right now. We do know that Trump put out that statement saying that there is a ceasefire in place and it will take place over the course of 24 hours. And after the 24th hour, there will be an absolute official ceasefire in place that may last forever. That being said, 4 a.m. was the time that Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi had given, saying that post this, there will be no incentive for them to respond to any attacks if Israel wraps up its attacks before that. It's currently 7:30 in Iran, 6:30 in Israel. Things still are volatile. We are getting reports of Iran's new missile attack in Israel as well. What's your assessment of this entire situation, and do you think perhaps Trump's announcement and celebration was premature?
No, not necessarily. Remember, there are hours to go. And it's not surprising that both sides want to get in as much firepower as they can. The Israelis, of course, are trying to destroy whatever military capability the Iranians might launch against them. The Iranians want to fire as many missiles as they can to exhaust the Israelis. Second, Now, once there is some kind of ceasefire, a whole lot of questions then begin. Mr. Trump, of course, has said that this is the beginning of the end, actually, of the enmity between Israel and Iran. But that begs a lot of questions. For example, do the Iranians still try to develop a nuclear capability again? Do the Iranians continue to support the various proxy groups that they've got, whether it's the Iraqi?
All right. Well, we seem to be having some issue. Well, we seem to be having some issue with that line. We will try and get Mr. Dovzakim back online with us as soon as possible. For now, let me just bring you up to speed with what's happened so far. Donald Trump, as you know earlier, had announced that Iran and Israel have agreed to a ceasefire. The phased ceasefire would bring about an official end, he said, to the 12-day war. And then he later told the US media that he thinks the ceasefire is unlimited and is going to go forever. However, we have been seeing some conflicting statements coming from Iran, where the foreign minister has said that there has been no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. However, provided that the Israeli regime stops its illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards. We also recently just got reports that sirens and explosions were heard in several parts of Israel after fresh missiles were fired from Iran. This was my question to Mr. Dovzakim as well, who did say that there are still a few hours to go before that 6-hour window closes. As you know, these are the 3 points that we need to remember. First, the 6-hour window, where both sides are asked to wind down. Iran is asked to first implement the ceasefire, continue it till the 12th hour. On the 12th hour is when Israel will then finally implement its ceasefire, and then over the course of the 24 hours, all in all, that is when the ceasefire will fully be in effect, and that is if things go as per Trump's plan. What the aim of the strikes that we're seeing right now is, that is something we've been discussing with Mr. Dovzakim. Mr. Zakim, I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I'm sorry we lost the connection. As I was saying, sorry?
Please continue, sir. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Terribly sorry to your viewers that I lost the connection. I'm not actually in Washington. I'm up in the mountains. You can see that behind me, and connections aren't always perfect there. As I was saying, there are lots of unanswered questions. Will the Iranians continue their current policies? Will the United States lift sanctions? What happens to the Iranian strategic nuclear program? What happens to the Iranian missile program? Hopefully, we are all hoping, whatever we may think of Mr. Trump in all other aspects, but we're all hoping that he's right about this, and that this brings a new era, literally turning the corner, an era of stability in the region. But both Iran and Israel have to agree to all of this. It is simply not clear that they will. And the very fact that the Iranian foreign minister has already pretty much said, yes, there'll be a ceasefire, but it's certainly not necessarily permanent, tells you that the Iranians are very, very hesitant to go all the way, and for one very good reason. The regime for years has used the notion of the great Satan America and the little Satan Israel to rouse its population. What would happen given Iran's miserable economic performance over the last years, the corruption and the authoritarianism that many Iranians just cannot take anymore? What happens when all of a sudden there are no attacks on America and Israel? And we'll wait and see whether there would be investment in Iran again, whether Iran will develop some kind of healthy economy. There are lots and lots of questions to be answered, but I really think that everyone hopes that Mr. Trump has succeeded.
You're right, Mr. Zakim. Everyone hopes that this truly is the end of the violence and the hostilities that we've been seeing for the past 12 days. That being said, let's also talk about the objectives of both the United States and Israel. It is, to a certain degree, that's what was said in reports as well, the complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program. Also, earlier we did hear Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that this is good for the Iranian people and it may help them as well, after clearly stating that in fact regime change wasn't the original goal, it may be a welcome result of it. That being said, in this 6-hour window, as you were saying earlier, do you think the goal right now is to inflict maximum damage? And do you think Israel and the United States have achieved any of their objectives?
Well, obviously, the primary objective was to knock out Fordo, Natanz, the various facilities, the air defense facilities, as many missile launchers as they could, military installations, military leaders, nuclear scientists. The Israelis have achieved a lot. There's no question. And the United States may have taken Fordo out, although there's a thing called battle damage assessment, which essentially means after you've dropped the bombs, you have to know whether the bombs actually did what they were meant to do at the targets they were meant to hit. That still is somewhat of an open question. And so it's not entirely clear that either Israel or the United States have objectives, although, quite frankly, Mr. Netanyahu pretty much said that they had just about achieved those objectives. Again, one indicator will be whether the Israelis are ready to accept a ceasefire. If they are, it pretty much means that, yes, they've gotten pretty much what they want. Clearly, Mr. Trump has accomplished his objective, which was to show the world the United States can hit anybody, anywhere. It cannot be stopped. It has the capability that no one else has. That's a message to China in particular.
Right, Mr. Zakim, also, that being said, you're right, there are a lot of unanswered questions as well. If the ceasefire is implemented as Trump hopes it will be, the next question would be, are we going to see further talks on Iran's nuclear program or the complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear program as was the stated objective to begin with? Do you think Iran has any incentive at this point to come back to the negotiations table, considering there were negotiations before Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, and then we saw the strikes, of course, and we've been seeing exchanges for 12 days. Then there was that 2-week window that was given, of course, did not follow through. We saw Operation Midnight Hammer by the United States. So do you think a negotiated solution is still possible, and can Iran's nuclear program truly be completely dismantled?
Well, those are two separate questions. Can negotiations begin again? I think the answer is yes. The Iranians pretty much said so. The Europeans, of course, want it, and actually Mr. Trump has said so. So, yes, the question then becomes, what do those negotiations bring? Iran has not indicated that it is prepared to give up enrichment. It simply has not said so, and it's not at all clear that it's willing to do so. On the other hand, Mr. Trump has made it very clear. I mean, after all, he did authorize bombings of Iranian nuclear facilities. He's made it very clear that that's exactly what he wants. Totally dismantling the nuclear project that Iran has been working on for decades. How those two positions are somehow reconciled is not at all clear to me, but there are incentives clearly that the United States and the West can give Iran that might, in fact, get the Iranians to take a different position. After all, they're much worse off than they were 12 days ago.
Right. So going forward, of course, this would require some premonition on your part as well. Where do we stand right now, and where do you see things going from here?
I think we stand pretty close to a ceasefire. The big question then becomes, how long does it last? Do both sides accept it as permanent or at least long term? Do both sides, really the United States and Iran, sit down and talk? What happens to the nuclear program? Those are questions that can only be addressed if the two sides stop shooting at each other.
All right. Mr. Zakim, thank you so much for joining us on WION World is One with your perspective on this.
Thank you. And again, my apologies for the breakup in our communications.
Thank you so much.